the broader screen here. We wanted to get started today. Is a very, very, very special day. It is Indigenous Peoples Day. Hello, my name is Dr. Malika Carter, and my gender pronouns are she, her, hers. I serve as the ESF's Chief Diversity Officer, and we want to make sure that today we do our Native Peoples Land Acknowledgement. And we really do. We're very, very grateful. And with respect, acknowledge the Onondaga Nation, the fire keepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people of whose ancestral land Syracuse University and also ESF stands right now. So we're very, very grateful. Today, we're going to be talking about our new normal, regrounding, facilities and grounds use. So facilities and ground use is especially pertinent today as we celebrate and acknowledge the contributions of Indigenous peoples from around the world. They are some of the original peoples who tried to defend their facilities and their grounds. And there's just so much happening, which I'm very, very grateful that we can discuss today. So at this time, I'll just tell you that I want to make sure that you should be introduced to our other speaker who's here on the call with me. That's Rebecca Hodekers. Rebecca, would you care to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Hodekers, and I am the Title IX Coordinator and Affirmative Action Officer at ESF, and a part of the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. Nice to be here with you today, Dr. Carter, on this important topic.
Thank you. It's so good to have you here. So we have, over the course of 6 weeks now, this is our 7th week, we're talking about various different topics in the new normal. Facilities and grounds use, especially post-COVID, is just one of those things. The picture that you see on your screen is a picture of the Environmental Science and Forestry Quad. And it's taken from the viewpoint of Bray Hall towards Moon Library. A beautiful fall day. Really wish we were out there right now, but that's okay. So want to keep going here. So facilities and grounds use is a topic of this session, but we've had different ones too on demonstrations and protesting and lots of different topics. And this series of virtual events is designed to help audiences claim knowledge and self-care in the face of unprecedented change. Nobody ever has known what's going to go on, but particularly now, there's lots of uncertainty in the air and folks don't know what's going to happen. And so we wanted to make sure that we equipped people as much as we possibly can with information so they can live better, move better, be more informed, not only on the ESF campus, but other affiliates that are visiting us or care about what we're doing at ESF. So one of the first things that I wanted to share, Rebecca, I am so excited to talk to you about this. This just came out. We had we already have had some type of guidelines for events and facilities, for facilities and activities at ESF, but just employees just got this. We have something called ESF, the ESF communication, and that goes out to all employees. And when I saw this, I said, oh, gee whiz, I really have to make sure that we share this. So Rebecca, just in knowing that what we do in OIDE and how people automatically can not pay attention to things that they consider, small, if they're doing an event or an activity, not necessarily consulting, but post-COVID-19 and other things such as protected class discrimination. We talked about this a little bit last time when we were on a call about the new normal, and that is helping guide people towards resources so that they can have a good event or visit our facility safely. So my question for you, Rebecca, is, and it's kind of the same thing that I asked you during our last conversation. Why is it that you think people don't pay attention to these things? They just pop up and like start setting up shop, like unrolling the table and, banners and things like that. Why do you think people do that on college campuses without even considering that there may be a protocol in place?
Well, it's interesting because it ties back to, I guess, our purpose for doing these and, and our need, our human nature to be reminded about a new normal. I think we always go back to reset to what we're used to sometimes, and then we forget to check about the changes that are happening so frequently when it comes to COVID-19, as we know, it's not just here at ESF, it's everywhere. Um, we have to be looking at so many different things, and we're always, there's so many changes that are happening in our county, in our state, in the country, and with our neighboring institution that we work so closely with, SU. So the need to check email and to find out what's in the news is so critical. And sometimes we have to go against our human nature to do with what is comfortable and what we know, to make sure that we are staying safe and following guidelines and regulations, because it's possible right now as we speak, there's some new updates that we aren't aware of. So I think the best thing we can do to keep each other safe and ourselves safe, and as well as our families, is just to make sure that we are acknowledging that there is a no normal and that we have to stay up to date on what's happening. So I hope that was a complete answer to your
Yes,
question.
absolutely. For individuals who are joining us on Facebook, we encourage you to visit www.esf.edu/restart. So you can find out not only about these new guidelines that we're talking about, but other different historical and contemporary materials that may serve you well if you would like to do an event, if you like to do an activity, even in a virtual environment. So this also just came out right now as we speak. There is a event going on that our department is putting on, and it runs from 1 to 2 o'clock, and then this one runs from 1:30 today for 1 hour. And it was very well done, very, very well done. I got to give it up to Kaida Fuentes, as well, future doctor, as well as Dr. Lizette Rivera, who are doing that right now. It was just really, really well done. And I had to jump off in order to join you all today, but maybe you might be seeing that concurrent on our website as we speak, 2 different events going on. And it is very important that we recognize the language around Columbus Day and also Indigenous Peoples Day. You may not know, maybe because I haven't said it like 13 times since being on this call, but today is Indigenous Peoples Day. And we celebrate that and acknowledge it at ESF. I've just, as of today, sent an email, and this is the first paragraph that you see on your screen right now, that is went to all employees and also all students. I give also a understanding, historically speaking, of the things that have went on at ESF and also within the SUNY system. You may not be aware we have 64 schools or higher education institutions within the SUNY system, and many of them have officially wrote into resolutions and declarations that they celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. So that brings me to talking about different forms of engagement. One person may say, hey, let me do this event. One person may say, hey, or I want to use this facility in this way. One person may protest, one person may demonstrate. But I wanted to let you know that a lot of the ways, especially since in our code of, in our course catalog, we say that email is the primary way that we communicate with students. And it is also, I would argue too, that it's the primary way that we communicate with our employees. So just quickly, Rebecca, this is just something I would really like to talk about with you. As we talk about different forms of engagement, everybody's always asking this, is email the best way to get in touch with people? Because then people are going to rely upon email in order to learn how to participate, learn how to engage our facilities, because they're not always going to go to those places that we talked about, like the Restart website and things like this. Especially now post-COVID, what are your thoughts about like screen intimacy that people are having and the fatigue that they may be experiencing? Because this definitely goes at, understanding these different forms of engagement, and how do we make sure that people are knowledgeable before they act?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can personally say screen fatigue is real. I think most of us that are online feel it from time to time. So breaks are really, really important. The fatigue I had in April, I can say, speaking personally, is it's less than it is now because I learned to take breaks and drink water. And, I think we're all coming up with our new normal and what we can do to make sure that we are getting used to the new way of working. To your original point about um, finding new ways of engaging, email is the most comprehensive way to receive a lot of updates, especially when it comes from the communications office. Usually the complete messages are via email, but I think ESF has done a really wonderful job overall at, and that's who we are in this discussion of finding ways of using social media to communicate messages and also direct individuals to the information that's needed through social media. We have an Instagram page, we have Facebook page. I mean, this presentation that we're doing now, Facebook Live, I don't think we've ever done this in this way before. So it's a way of having a recorded information available to people if they prefer to get information in the context of a conversation. I think our campus is doing a pretty good job from what I've seen comparatively to other places of finding, trying to meet people where they are in this interesting time that we're in right now.
If people are not familiar and you're watching this way later than we have recorded it, you can find out more about us on Facebook and also Instagram at ESF Diversity.
Mhm.
So just recently, Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh announced that the city will move to remove the Christopher Columbus statue. And so I'm getting lots of calls as the chief diversity officer, people saying, can I tell people that I agree with that? Or can I tell people that I don't agree with that? Absolutely, you can. And the reason why you can is because we do have a non-discrimination statement. This is not necessarily political. You just simply, if you have a opinion, you can share that opinion. And that's what higher education is meant to do. We're to share our opinions and then contend for them for the betterment of humanity. That's what academicians, the intelligentsia of the intelligent community that brokers ideas, that's what we do. So I just wanted to let you know also that many SUNY campuses, including ESF, because we reside on land once inhabited by the Haudenosaunee people, we are committed to creating communities that are inclusive, diverse, and representative. And the reason why we do that is because those communities that came before us have shown us the way, have shown us how to do that. And of course, that we have federal and state requirements that guide our language and our behavior as well. So yay, Indigenous Peoples Day. But I just want to let you know that that is coming down. Or it is, so it is scheduled, well, is being scheduled to come down. And that's important because people have been talking about this ever since I got here. And I have a very short history in Syracuse, not even 5 years. But other people have been saying every year we go down there to protest, every year. So it's something to be said about that. And especially at this time, make no mistake, it was done at a time where we knew that Indigenous Peoples Day was coming up. So people are talking about this, and we just wanted to make sure that you were informed, especially during the conversation about facilities and grounds. We thought you should know.
Yeah.
Rebecca, should I move on? Did you have something you wanted to share about this one?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so here's what we're doing today. You already are in this new normal workshop about facilities and grounds. We also have, I just shared with you a brief overview of Taínos, who are Caribbean people that Columbus or Colombo encountered in 1492. We also have anti-discrimination, anti-harassment education going on today, and that's for employees only. I will take the opportunity to say that you may have seen this little thing called an executive order by the President of the United States. Rebecca, did you happen to see that?
Yes,
Oh,
I did.
yes. So September 22nd, it was. There was an executive order that was shared with the whole country. And it specifically says what words should or should not be included in different types of training. Right now, because we're getting a lot of comments, flooding with calls and emails, I am putting together a brief for our community. so that everyone at our community can know what our expectations are. Here's why this is a big deal. And it also is in relationship to facilities and grounds, but in a virtual environment. Our office, the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity, currently offers trainings and professional development, not only to students, but also to all employees. It's required. And we broker that over a period of many, many years to make that a condition of employment. And so now we want to make sure that what we're offering is aligned with this new federal order or this executive order. So I would encourage you to take a look at it, even if you Google it. Just Google diversity training or inclusion training or equity training and executive order. I am certain that you will find it. Dated September 22nd. So with that, oh, and excuse my email for popping up while we're in our presentation. What I'll do is, if anyone would like more information, please feel free to email us at inclusiveexcellence@esf.edu, inclusiveexcellence@esf.edu, and we'll get back to you. Also, if you want to know more about our events, please visit the ESF calendar. So I have put this in here because my colleague Rebecca is joining me, but also because I was just reminded of something, Rebecca. There was a person who was Indigenous who came to campus about last year. And on the ESF campus, we have in bathrooms, restrooms, we have messaging that says, well, it tells people how to get help if they're a survivor of domestic violence. And this individual that was doing a presentation, he was standing in front of the, like, everyone that was there, faculty, students, staff, visitors. And he was doing a presentation that was focused on environmental justice. And he was telling the story of a particular set of people that boarding school experiences, as well as how that pertained to environmentalism. Okay. So here's what happened. He said, I just came from your restroom. And he said, I was in a stall and I saw on the wall, it said, does your partner make fun of you? Does your partner hit you when you express yourself? All of these different things that would signal domestic violence, right? And if so, here's how to get help. Rebecca, I tell you, my mouth fell open when I thought about how he phrased this. He said, that's exactly what has happened to Indigenous folks. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, right? It just took me for a loop because many times when people experience domestic violence, they other it by only aligning it by gender roles. Mm-hmm. But domestic violence can also and has also been aligned by race identity, ethnic identity, and other protected class identity. So it caused me to pause. And so I just wanted to make sure that you knew that these events were going on about trauma, mm-hmm. right? And that October is the month to wear purple in honor of people who have experienced domestic violence and to bring awareness to it. But I'm telling you, that really took me for a loop.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been thinking about that ever since. It hits me every now and then, especially as we're starting to advertise things for October. And I thought, wow, if that doesn't relate to not only the new normal, but when we talk about facilities, what messaging do we cue mm-hmm. to different folks, you know? And if you don't know that now, you know that we have inside of our bathrooms messaging. The ESF Women's Caucus has messaging. When we talk about facilities and grounds, you can't just put a poster anywhere at ESF. And most institutions won't let you just put a poster or a flyer anywhere. Mm-hmm. There are rules for how to post. Those can be found, by the way, in the Student Code of Conduct, and they outline exactly where things can be posted at the ESF campus. Other campuses have them too. So Rebecca, I just thought I'd toss that in, you know, it's food for thought. Did you have anything to share before I move on?
Yes, I do, actually. And thank you so much for sharing that example, because I think it's so helpful to think about that as we link these two really important places in time where we talk about Domestic Violence Month, and then also Indigenous Peoples Day, and how it's not always discrete. Especially as we start to frame, as we in the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity try to frame our work around inclusion and equity. So, I just wanted to share one thing with you and others, if you didn't know about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. As you mentioned, it's every October. And in October, institutions use educational events, community gatherings, and support groups to promote this month and promote prevention and awareness. And I'm not sure if you know, but in 2018, Domestic Violence Awareness Project was developed with a unified theme, #OneThing. And the purpose of this campaign is to remind everyone that ending domestic violence starts with just one small action, whether that is seeking help or sharing resources. So, I mean, I would encourage everyone watching this to really think about one thing that we can do to end domestic violence and to promote awareness. There are so many resources on our website and connected to the Choose Action Network. And you should really follow Choose Action Network on Instagram. There's so many wonderful resources there. And then also ESF Diversity. So let's make sure if we do anything today, we can think of one thing that we can do to end domestic violence. Okay.
Yeah, I would just also say that there's different every year when we don't have COVID, we gather, right? We gather during these types of months. And one of the ways that we do that is by, what is it? We call it Take Back the Night. Rebecca, I'll let you fill in. Like, what is Take Back the Night? Why do we do that? Again, relating directly to the topic at hand.
Okay, well, I haven't been here for Take Back the Night this year since I started in February, but I know that in general, it's people gather, and on other institutions that I've been at, people gather and they, in some instances, march. And I know that we've had marches here around campus to promote awareness. And we have people give personal stories about the impact of domestic violence on their life in many different ways, promoting bystander awareness, and also finding ways to have the work extend beyond just one day. You may have other particular examples of other things that have happened at ESF, but I know that all of those things have happened here and elsewhere.
Yeah, so we gather for, sometimes we've gathered for every, tell everybody get in purple, right, to acknowledge this thing month. And also there has been on Indigenous Peoples Day gatherings on the quad. So we do a lot of gathering at ESF. And the reason why I wanted to specifically point out that we do that is that sometimes these things are informal and sometimes they're formal. So I wanted to encourage our audience to make sure that you are alerting the institution if it is formal. Sometimes it's best to do that even if it is informal, especially post-COVID. I shouldn't say sometimes, it is all the time, because we want to be able to make sure that we're keeping our community safe. That's top priority all the time. So here's some of the things that were in the mix when we thought that we should definitely talk about this. We talked about public versus private institutions. Syracuse University is going to behave differently than ESF because ESF is a state institution. Criminal acts, especially like spray painting, right? Different types of monuments, things like this that can be construed as criminal. Harassment, defamation, hate speech, commercial speech. Oh, let me stop on that one. So commercial speech, there's going to be a difference in how folks come on our campus. So if they're a commercial entity or if they're trying to sell people something, that is something to pay attention to, especially because that's directly tied to the debt of students, and there's lots of issues there, and we have to be responsible in helping, again, keep our community safe, and that includes fiscally. Creating space to listen, understanding different forms of engagement, which we talked a little bit about, the right to peaceful assembly and interacting with administrators. this interacting piece. It's going to be important to make sure that if you are going to be gathering on the ESF campus virtually on social media, even, you don't always have to alert us. But if you're on our social media, um, something that I want to just talk about right now that directly relates to that is that there are certain movements of telling a lot about a particular situation online that you may have experienced acts of discrimination or harassment. The institution cannot react to that. Here's why. We have to keep things confidential, meaning that we cannot tell your story for you. So if you choose to tell your story online, there's nothing we can do to correct that, or to refute it or to support it. There's nothing that we can do. Again, we have to keep it confidential. So if you do have questions or if you experience bias or discrimination, whether it's in the situation of on our facilities, interpersonally, if you are a student or you're affiliated with us, if you're a faculty staff member, or even if you're a contractor, we encourage people to report. Uh, I hate to talk about this, but it's important. So, Rebecca, how do people report acts of discrimination and harassment?
Well, there are several ways. The One of the wonderful ways we have um, at ESF to report is we have a bias reporting system, which you can find online. And this reporting system can either be anonymous or you are able to provide your contact information. There are some times when people don't feel safe to put their information, but they want it to be on the radar of the institution. And in those cases, they report anonymously. In the case, it's always easier. I am the one that receives the report, so I can say 100% that I have no way of knowing who submits them if they don't provide their contact information. Contact information is incredibly helpful, though, so I can ask more detailed questions and find out if there's a way that you can get the support that you need through the situation. So I encourage you, if you are going to report anything through the bias reporting system, that if at all possible, if you could provide some information. If not, then we will work with the context that we get. Also, you can come to me directly. You can, all of my contact information is on the website, and we'll be showing it later on in future slides. Most easily to contact me, you can do Title IX TITLEIX@esf.edu. We can schedule a Zoom call or a phone call, whatever is most convenient for you. But we do want you to know that we are here to support the safety of the community, and it is not. We do not tolerate any kind of hate, and we'll do whatever we can to work with you to, it's really a community's responsibility to work together to make sure that we're a safe community.
So, what I've done is I've went to this slide about prohibition against personal use of state property. I kept that in here. We've been using this particular piece of information in a couple different iterations of this virtual discussion series. But I almost had taken it out, but then I thought to myself, oh yeah, we got to make sure people understand what personal property is. Because often, if it's a state institution, many people think that it belongs to the people so they can do whatever, and they don't think that it can be a crime by defacing it. But just a friendly reminder, um, you can be liable to criminal charges if there is defacement to state property. So you can find out more information by just Google it, policies ESF, and you'll find this particular policy on the prohibition against personal use of state property, and a little bit more information is in there. So I would highly encourage you to look at it. Very interesting stuff. Regarding creating space to listen, we're very proud of our Syracuse University neighbors. They're going to be collaborating with Indigenous students to install a permanent monument on their campus in recognition of the Onondaga Nation. And this was announced last Thursday or Friday. And so we're very, very proud of that. You should also know that there is in the Gateway Center of SUNY Environmental Science and Forestry, or as we lovingly call it, ESF, we do have with our other flags recognition of the Haudenosaunee flag as you see it, or on right on your screen. So today you've had with you myself. Dr. Rivera would normally have been here, but as you just heard, she's doing another presentation on Taino culture. And you also have Rebecca Holder-Curse. This is a little bit about us and how to get in contact with us. And if you want more information, of course, you can reach out to us by social media. You can also reach out to us by telephone by finding our telephone numbers and any other contact information on our website. And that is esf.edu/IDE. Don't get it mixed up with DIE. We have no idea where that takes you. So go to esf.edu/I as in inclusion, D is in diversity, E is in equity. With that said, Rebecca, did you have any parting words to share?
No, nothing more. Just we're here for you if you need us, and have a great day.
Bye-bye, everybody. Okay, I stopped our recording.
Okay, and I am I hope. Okay, we have to, I think we might need to